Last video, I mentioned about how I was ending a project. I was ending my last campaign, my Lost Warriors. Forever lost, perhaps. Or maybe they were victorious. We'll now never know, sadly. However, let us not dwell on the past. Let's instead turn to the future. And what a grim, dark future I have for you today. You may guess what I'm going to say now, but I have something for you to listen to. A quote that I must read. And you must listen. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexorable armies. He is a rotting carcass, withering inevitably with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, so that he may never truly die. Yet in his deathless state the Emperor continues his eternal vigilance. Mighty battle fleets across the demon-infested miasma of the warp, the only route between distant stars, their way lit by the Astronomicon. A shining psionic manifestation of the Emperor's will. Vast armies give battle in his name on uncounted worlds. Greatest among his soldiers, the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, bioengineered super warriors. Their comrades in arms are Legion, the Imperial Guard, the ever-vigilant Inquisition, and the tech priests of Mars, to name but a few. But for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-persistent threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten. Forget the progress and understanding, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. Prepare to enter the nightmare world of Dark Heresy. Now I must admit I perhaps slightly said the wrong thing here and there reading that out, but I've always wanted to read that out. And I got close enough. The point is, I'm going to be doing a Dark Heresy 2nd edition campaign, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Dark Heresy is, which means in turn I must talk about one of my favourite settings, Warhammer 40,000. Now I must confess, I am not going to make a whole lore video right now, because that would be a long process, and there are many channels you can go to that have done a better job than me. I particularly recommend you watch Bricky's Every Faction video. Many of you have, many of you should. If the Emperor had a text-to-speech device is a fantastic parody view of the setting, I do recommend. Though it is very memeified, so understand that it's all a parody, and that the setting does take itself a little more seriously than that, in most regards. But still, it's a fun watch. Point is, there are many channels to watch who have talked in depth about the variety of the lore and what it entails, so I'm not going to do that here. If you'd like me to do that though, please drop a comment. Maybe I might make some lore videos. I will, however, be discussing my campaign's lore, the particular sector of space, and various aspects of it, but it is in the Warhammer 40,000 setting, so if you know that setting, you'll already be way ahead of everyone else. Now then, I'd like to welcome you to the very first video discussing A Voice in the Dark, my Dark Heresy campaign. And today, I'm going to be discussing why I chose Dark Heresy, why I really feel that it'll be a good thing for not only me as a DM, but also a good break for my players as well. As, I'll be honest, D&D is just not feeling the same for me anymore. which is a real shame, because I like Dungeons & Dragons. I do. I really do. But I have to stress to you, sometimes when you do the same thing quite often, it just numbs to you. That feeling, that excitement, it just doesn't feel the same anymore. And I'm at a point now where I've been DMing for, 5 years? And it's only been D&D. There is more out there. There's a world of RPGs out there. And I've played a couple of them. But it's only a fragment of the sea of them. And, well, Dark Heresy, I've been a player in a few times. This sadly, the campaigns haven't gone too long, but at the same time, I also really enjoyed my time with them. And I would like to recreate that for my players. And I think it'd be good for me to take a step away from D&D and do something fresh and new. Maybe we'll come back to Dungeons & Dragons, maybe we won't. I don't know, and there's a bit of a moral question on my behalf, because I kind of feel as though, I don't know, Wizards of the Coast just don't feel like a company I want to support. I paid money through Roll20 to have the books so my players had an easier time, but I don't know if I want to do that again with this new edition of Dungeons & Dragons. There are things I like about it, don't get me wrong, and this isn't going to be a video of me critiquing Dungeons & Dragons, but I want to express to you why I wanted to change to a different system. And really what pushed me was just that the system itself is limited. In many respects, you need a bit of crunch of your fluff. Now, of course, from a role-playing perspective, you can do whatever you want in just about any system, right? As long as it isn't a wargame, and even if it's a wargame, you can do role-playing if you want. That's easy. That doesn't require a book. If I wanted to do nothing but roleplay, I don't need a book for that. My imagination is perfectly active enough. Trust me, it creates multiple demons for me daily. And I must fight them. Religiously. Which is a wonderful segment to move on to the perks of Dark Heresy. Fighting things religiously, well, let me tell you, sinners, you're going to be doing a lot of that here. And many other things, though I will say, fighting demons too early is a death sentence. They're quite tough. And they are but one of many threats, because, as I mentioned, aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. Well, let's just say those heretics tend to include traitors. Mortal and Astartes alike. For yes, the Emperor's greatest soldiers, we'll ignore the Adeptus Custodes for a moment here, because those are way better. Let's just say the Astartes fell. Quite a few of them fell to chaos. And now stalk the galaxy as monsters from a dark age. Many of them barely aged a day because they were in the warp. And thus they have an ancient grudge for an empire that has long since died off. And the Imperium itself is a horoscope in of itself. The entire thing is a husk of what it was. Technology used to be far more advanced. It's getting better in the modern setting. Though, my own campaign, I tend to like to set it before the era Indominus, because that era creates issues occasionally. Not too many, but for example, it creates so many issues, it changes the Eye of Terror into just this warping rift across the entire galaxy, as opposed to just this single vortex. So, it changes a lot of the setting. Also, the Imperium's advancing a bit now, which I don't fully like the idea of that too much. That's some issues I have with the modern setting, but then I have issues with how Games Workshop are handling their setting, personally. I think they want to try and turn it to it more friendly, and I think that's literally failing the point of the setting and what attracted people to it. And I think the issue they're going to have one day is many of these people are going to come to the setting and go, oh, that's not the setting I learned about and liked. And yeah, it's not. So I hope that doesn't happen. But it's definitely changed a bit, and I don't know if it's entirely for the better. So I prefer to go back a little bit before the Primarch returned. And frankly, for what these kind of the campaigns tend to entail, it wouldn't matter too much. You could run Nero Dominus, and I no shame in you doing that, by the way. If you want to run modern setting, go for it. I like to wind the clock back a little bit. just to before that point. Before the 13th Black Crusade and the fall of Cadia. Rest in peace, Cadia. Now then, what else do you need to know? Well, some things to know. I have yet to get my players ready, but I've mentioned it to them. I want to take more time with this, because, and this is no shade at D&D, but Dungeons & Dragons normally doesn't require you to have a bit of a dossier a little bit on important NPCs and their motivations. Now, this initial sort of mission I'm going to be sending my players on is less espionage-y, but there's going to be a bit of that. There's going to be information they need to gather that's going to be important for later in the campaign. So I need to prepare that. I need to sit down and spend a bit of time really writing that down. So that is what I'm going to do when I get time. Or rather, when I give myself the time. I just make the time and do it. But point is, I have a penciled out version, so allow me to elaborate a bit for you as to what they're going to face initially. The party is going to be sent to a vessel known as the Cronus Nox. The Cronus Nox is a vast ship, a grand cruiser, basically an ancient vessel that is no longer really fitting in the main Imperial Navy. This vessel was lost for about a couple hundred years, but then it has recently reappeared in the Segmentum Tempestus, which is on the, I believe, it serves the west side of the galaxy, though editing me, correct me if I'm wrong. But the party are essentially at a station, waiting to receive orders to investigate various wrecks from a recent campaign against various Xenos and Chaos forces. They haven't been given those details, and thus neither will you for now. But the point is, they are essentially there to do a cleanup duty. They've been sent there for various reasons, but this time, a hidden hand has picked them out. These individuals. The Hand of the Inquisition. And said Inquisitor has asked that these people go into the Cronus Nox, as it's just translated into warp. Now, the Inquisition, if you're thinking Spanish Inquisition, you've got a good idea, but imagine if the Inquisition were, how shall we say, allowed to destroy planets if need be, had unlimited power, and that only the God Emperor himself could tell them no. Or each other. They fight a lot, because a bunch of people with unlimited power. There are ranks in the Inquisition, but it's just formalities. You know, Lord Inquisitor's an Inquisitor. You can't have more infinite power than someone with infinite power. Not really. But this Inquisitor wants him to go in there. For who knows what reasons, but there are word of STC constructs on the vessel. To explain, STCs, or Standard Template Constructs, are these miracle devices from an age way before current. They're from the time when humanity was a lot more advanced and used AI, before that went very wrong. But back in these ages, they had these tools that could build all the things that a colony needed. They had designs, they had all these schematics that could perfectly recreate stuff. This could be something like the Land Raider. This could be an Imperial Titan. This could be the Knights that you see, these massive war mechs. This could be all kinds of technology, from factories perhaps, tools of war or to protect themselves, or just simply just farming equipment. How to make these tractors for this particular world, you know, these prefabs essentially. And this device could help in the construction of them. They are considered relics by the tech priests, by the way. These are like holy objects, so they want them. The Imperium always makes use of them. For example, the Space Marine's knife you see in the Space Marine 2 game. Yeah, that was an STC. The Imperial Guardsman who found that was gifted an entire planet. Yes, an entire planet They went from a guardsman to a planetary governor overnight because of that discovery. That is how much they are valued. The Imperium will reward for those. This Inquisitor, maybe after that, or other things on that ship. It's been lost for a while, and it is likely to be filled with all kinds of horrors. Let alone the Swift Judgment, Night Lord Warband. Who are the Night Lords, you ask? Well, I won't go into too much detail on my favourite legions, but let's just put it this way. Imagine a group of people who, how shall we say, would take great joy in tearing you apart, tormenting you, torturing you, putting the fear of God into you. Imagine those people are now super soldiers, clad in tank-like armour, and have increased strength and speed, and stand about 7 to 8 foot tall. Yeah, they're pretty big and terrifying, which is the point. They're also my favourite, because they are utter cowards, because they know fear, but they also know fear. And that warband is skulking the area, doing God knows what to anyone they find. And believe me, they can get creative. They were a legion of terror when they were loyalist, and now they're unrestrained entirely. Let's just say you don't want to know what happens when they take you alive. So don't get taken alive. There's a couple of forces in this setting that you do not want to be taken alive by, and they are one of them. Only perhaps the Dark Eldar and the Emperor's Children could do worse than what they do to you. And believe me, those three are some of the worst. By long shot. Maybe Slanesh demons. Because what's worse than dying eventually? Never knowing death because the demons and their god won't let you. Even the Dark Eldar eventually, after all the things they can do, you can die too, but perhaps such demonic horrors are on the ship as well. Or perhaps ancient man-made horrors crawling from the stars and also stalk the ship. Maybe things that aren't even human stalk that ship. Tyranids, perhaps Eldar, non-Dark Eldar in this case, perhaps the Craftfallers are there looking for something. Perhaps there are even human survivors. Maybe they're mutants. Maybe they've actually kept themselves pure. Who knows? All the party know is they need to go there. And that will be the start of my Voice in the Dark campaign. As I said, this is the first of many. I'm going to be talking about things of the campaign and answering any questions if there are any. If not, no worries. This playlist will also be filled with the after action reports, as I'd like to stream this. So, one, there'll be a stream VOD over my VOD channel, so go check that out. But also, when I do start doing this, there's going to be an after action report. Ideally, after the session, I'd like to have a quick chat with some of the players and just ask how they're feeling about it, and just talk about it a little bit. I might grab one of them, pull them into a call, and we just natter. Or if not, it's just little old me. We'll see, but I'm definitely streaming it regardless of what I choose to do. Obviously, some of this is penciled in, and I've not got a date for when this is going to start, so keep an eye out. Discord is the best place to do this, but I will also be posting stuff in the community tab, especially when I'm streaming it. So, if you want to make sure that you catch all this when I do finally bring this all live, please remember to like, subscribe, maybe leave a comment asking some questions. I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions regarding the setting, regarding the campaign, and anything else you want to ask. If you're wondering about players, by the way, I have a couple in mind already that I've basically asked one and they're very keen. The other, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I'm going to properly ask him when the time's closer. And the third, we'll see. After that, I may pull one or two more people in. We'll see. I need to make sure my players are comfortable with that, of course. As the DM, it is important that you make sure your players are comfortable with stuff, including new people they are, or people they aren't as familiar with. And if they say, we'd rather not, then, that's that. And I am going to be prioritising those who I know better first, because I like running RPGs with people I know. But if they're comfortable with letting some people in, I might put some feelers out and ask, hey, would anyone be interested in this? Here's the times I want to do it. Here's how often I want to do it. What's your availability like? And we'll go from there. So, with that all being said, thank you for watching, Sinners, and I hope this will be all ready to go soon, and we'll be able to start a wonderful new journey into the horrors of the 41st millennium. I hope you'll join me in this new adventure, and I hope you'll be grinning ear to ear as I put my players through literal, unhabituated hell. Till next time, ta-ta for now.